Hey everyone, happy 60th. Today's show marks the 60th episode of Uncanny Japan. And here, reaching 60 is a big deal. That is, reaching 60 years of age, not so much the number of podcasts you have up. But anyway, when you reach the big 60, it's called Kanreki, and you celebrate by dressing up in a bright red vest and bright red billowy hat, and you sit on a bright red zabuton cushion while holding a white folding fan. There's more. Today I'll talk a little about that, a little about some other auspicious birthdays, as well as Yakudoshi, the Calamitous or evil years. Per Japanese tradition, we all have them, and they're not to be taken lightly. So in this episode, I will tell you how people in Japan celebrate the good years and mitigate those wretched ones. Uncanny Japan is author me, Teresa Matsura, exploring all that is weird from old Japan. Strange superstitions and old wives' tales, cultural oddities and interesting language quirks. These are little treasures I dig up while doing research for my writing, and I want to share them with you here on Uncanny Japan. I hope you like the show. Hey everyone. How are you all holding up? I've got a touch of news. The anthology of essays, Inaka, Portraits of Life in Rural Japan, published by Camphor Press, is officially out. My piece called Sticky Ghosts and Other Missteps is in there, along with a bunch of other really good-looking essays. I just got my copies yesterday, and I can't wait to read. Last I checked, it was around $8 for an ebook on the Camphor Press website or Amazon. The title again is Inaka Portraits of Life in Rural Japan. It's got a gorgeous cover too. In other writing news, I don't talk about it a lot, but some of you might know that I started this podcast as a way of dealing with and trying to survive a very bad situation. I managed to find the strength to leave that, had some months of normalcy, before realizing I was entangled in yet another truly horrible place. That also took a year or so to get out of, but I did. The whole time, though, this podcast has been my anchor and my way of keeping sane. Now, everyone reach over and knock on or touch wood. Despite this pandemic and the chaotic state of the world, after 4 years of not really writing anything new except the podcast and the bedtime stories for patrons, I started working on a mid-grade book. It's all brand new and incredibly fun. I am so excited about it, it's all I want to do. There is adventure, mystery, scary bits, warm fuzzies, and yokai. My plan is to have it ready to send to my agent before the end of the year and see what happens. So everybody cross your fingers. Okay, on to today's topic. Kanreki, or your 60th birthday. The two characters mean something like return or circulate years. Basically, it means one full cycle. When you reach 60 years of age, you've completed this one cycle and are in effect born again. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of how a 12-year animal zodiac calendar becomes 60 years. Just to know that every one of those 12 years are combined with something called a jikan, making different combinations. When all is said and done, there are 60 different combinations before you start again. The custom of celebrating one's Kanreki started in the Nara era, so way back in the 700s. Back then, to be 60 years of age was living to be very, very, very old. A little trivia, we think about Japan as having one of the longest life expectancies. And it does. But before World War II, the average life expectancy here was 50 for men and 54 for women. So anyway, how do you celebrate your Kanreki? By having a nice get-together and a fancy meal, of course. The person who is in their 60th year will sit at the place of honor on a red zabuton cushion. They'll don a red vest called a chanchanko, a red billowy hat called an e-boshi, and they'll also be given a white fan to hold. You'll notice there's a lot of red in this celebration. This is because red is associated with luck, prosperity, health, and warding off bad luck and evil, as well as birth. Remember, your Kanreki is a time of rebirth. Akachan, or red one, is the word for baby in Japanese. Some other red things. While there are many variations, you will probably find served with your fancy meal, sekihan, sticky rice with red azuki beans. You'll find this served a lot for special occasions in Japan. But at your Kanreki, you might also find red sea bream, or tai, which sounds like medetai, which means to celebrate. You could find shrimp or lobster on your plate. Both are red and have curved backs and long whiskers, symbolizing a long life. It used to be 60 was the age of retirement. So not only was your Kanreki celebrating your super long life, it also meant that if you were the head of a household, you could now step aside and allow your child to take over the family business. The wife on her Kanreki would give a shamoji, one of those rice paddles, to her daughter-in-law as a way of indicating the same thing. Get to work. These days, it seems the celebration is more just a time to get together, be thankful, eat good food, and have some laughs. Not a lot of retiring or revering the ripe old age of 60, which by all accounts is still young. So young, in fact. I've heard some people would rather not have the get-together and dress up in the vermilion garb. Maybe they just like to receive a pair of red underpants with Kanreki written across the butt. I don't know about olden times, but it does seem to have a playful vibe now. After you get through your Kanreki, there are also some other celebrated years. When you turn 70, you'll have your koki, which means ancient or rare, and the celebratory colors are purple. At 77, you'll have your kiju, 80, sanju, 81, hanju, 88, beiju, 90, sotsuju, 99, hakuju, 100, joju or byakuju, 108, chaju, 111, koju, and we're not done. On your 120th birthday, we will celebrate your Dai Kanreki, or your Big Kanreki, because you've just completed your second 60-year cycle. There's one more, though. Ready? If perchance you reach the ripe old age of 250, it's called Tenju, and the 10 in Tenju means heaven. I'll have all the kanji for those who are interested in the transcript on the website. So those are the good times. Now, let's do a 180 and look at our Yakudoshi, calamitous, unlucky, or evil years. It's during these times you are believed to be more susceptible to some sickness or misfortune or other disaster. As nothing is ever completely good or completely bad, another way I've heard these years described is not so much evil, but years that involve great change. Changes in your life or your body. Here's an interesting note about measuring your age by old Japanese standards. There is something called kazoi doshi. When a person is born, they are counted as 1 year old. On their, what in the West we would call first birthday, they would be turning 2. It makes sense. The time you're in the womb, you are indeed alive. So keep that in mind if you're ever reading about ages and you find a year discrepancy in your research. The older age is probably their kazoi doshi. It makes you 1 year older. Again, some differences depending on where you are in Japan, but these are my area's Yakudoshi years, and when I read around, pretty much they're standard for all over Japan, except Okinawa. So here we go. women have their unlucky years when they are 19, 33, and 37. Men have their bad years when they are 25, 42, and 61. Among those three ages, the most dangerous year to watch out for is 33 for women and 42 for men. Those are called Daiyaku, big misfortune, big disaster, big evil. A side note, I didn't know it at the time, but my Daiyaku really was one of the worst years of my life. Okay, if you're not one of those ages, don't think you're getting off scot-free by having only 3 potentially crisis-filled years in your life. There is something called Maeyaku and Atoyaku, pre-misfortune and post-misfortune. Basically, it means the year before and the year after each of those years are also suspect. So, if you identify as female, you need to be careful when you are 18, 19, 20, and 32, 33, 34, and 36, 37, 38. If you identify as male, then your bad years will be 24, 25, 26, and 41, 42, 43, and 60, 61, 62. But Terry, you ask, how does one be careful if you're coming into a Yakudoshi year? I asked that very same question, and basically what I was told was to not overdo it during these years, or maybe better put, don't press my luck by doing anything too adventurous or out of the ordinary. No long trips, no important undertakings, no risky life changes, because they might turn out very, very badly. Also, it's common for people to pray at shrines or temples and to buy an omamori, or a protecting amulet. You can also get a yakubarai, or a kind of cleansing ritual done to ward off any bad energy and to keep you theoretically safe. One thing I just read about, but hadn't heard before, was an old tradition of abandoning something personal to you at a crossroads. For women, it could be a comb, needle, or hair ornament. For men, a writing brush, work tool, or a fundoshi, Japanese loincloth. It's believed all the people passing over this place will dissipate the bad energy. So if you are ever in Japan and at a crossroads, and you run across some old-fashioned underwear, well, you'll know why they're there. Finally, I read that you can do the same thing with coins. Just drop the number equaling the age you are, again at a crossroads, and the passers-by will pick them up, thus dissipating your bad luck. And finally, speaking of 60, Uncanny Japan has 168 patrons at the moment. And okay, I know that is a very clumsy segue, but I was thinking how wonderful it would be if we could get up to 200 by the end of the year. If you've ever thought about supporting the show, Google Patreon and Uncanny Japan, and there we are. $5 a month seems to be a sweet spot with the monthly story, some binaural relaxing sounds. I'm learning to put together some little videos of local interesting spots and things like that. Rich Pav, Sound and Tech Man, is also just about ready to launch a YouTube Japanese home cooking channel. We'll add another tier for $10 a month, where you'll get everything mentioned above, along with early access and bonus content from Richard, as well as online study-related goodies. Right now we're thinking about using Anki or Quizlet, or Anki and Quizlet, to make flashcard decks for the vocabulary that will be coming up in the cooking videos as well as this podcast. I'll let you know when that goes up. So there you go, lucky years, unlucky years, and how to celebrate the good stuff and protect yourself from the bad stuff. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe and healthy, and I will talk to you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. You've just reached the end of another episode of Uncanny Japan. Perhaps you'd like more. A monthly folktale translated and retold by me, the occasional binaurally mic'd soundscape like the ones you hear on this show, or recipes, behind-the-curtain episodes, homemade postcards, and more. If you're interested in that or supporting the show in any way, please search for Uncanny Japan and Patreon. We've got a wonderful group over there. Thank you again for listening, supporting, reviewing, and telling your friends about the show. My name is Teresa Matsura, and I will talk to you again soon. Any bad energy and to keep you theoretically safe. One thing I just